we are in agreement, and I commend this bill to the House.
I call Gareth Hughes.
Kia ora, Madam Speaker. Ngā mihi nui kia koutou kia ora. Look, the Green Party rises to support this legislation. A previous member mentioned it and described it as a bit of a spring clean. I'd agree with that summary of the bill. I guess you could also call it a bit of a tune-up of our Crown Minerals regime. What we have seen in the last 10 years is a huge amount of change in the sector in New Zealand. The trends globally, we've seen some pretty high falls and lows of the oil price over the last 10 years. So what we have seen is a number of companies enter New Zealand, but also exit New Zealand. I'm thinking of the likes of Petrobras, Apache, the misnamed New Zealand Energy Corporation, actually based in Canada, and a host of others. What we've seen overseas is a trend toward consolidation and other operators taking over other operators' permits as part of the response to the market conditions. So it's absolutely correct that this legislation deals when a change of operator condition occurs. Now, the risk, of course, is that a company maybe at the end of a field's life does change the permit operator to another one. Now, what no one, I think, in this House or this country indeed wants to see is cowboys taking over permits without any sort of ministerial oversight or consent and then not acting in the national interest. Now, we have seen a number of adverse effects occur overseas. We've seen some in New Zealand, including some of the water pollution under the Kapuni well sites. So it's eminently reasonable to make sure that a change of permit operator requires ministerial consent. The Green Party is wholeheartedly behind that. It's a good common sense change. Now, I want to thank the submitters to the committee. While it didn't engender the heat and light that the later Crown Minerals Amendment Bill dealt with, which dealt with the offshore oil and gas ban and the transition towards clean energy, we did see 11 submitters, 5 from industry, 3 from NGOs and 1 from iwi. I'd like to thank them. Now, I want to speak directly to the environmental NGO submitters because I think they had some legitimate concerns which were addressed by the committee. Now, I think that as the committee's report makes clear, there were some amendments and there were some clarifications needed to provide assurance on 2 key issues. The first was around Schedule 4 land, and the second was around authorisation of activities on land adjacent to permits. Now, to take that first, now, quite, I think, legitimately, one could have read the amendment as originally drafted, that the same activities that could occur on a permit could occur on adjacent land. Now, this is quite a worry, of course, because if you're a farmer, for example, with adjacent land to another farmer with a permit over it, you wouldn't want to see those activities occurring on your land because there would not be a permit over that land. So what the committee has made clear is that these activities are only of a minimal nature. So what we did see the legislation clarify was that the authorisation does not give the permit holder the same power as the permit. The only activity authorised to occur on the adjacent land is a geophysical survey. Now, this raised another key issue for the committee because geophysical surveys encompass a whole range of different activities, everything from seismic surveys to gravity surveying through to radiometric through to magnetic surveys. But when it comes to the seismic surveys, this is an area that I've paid a lot of attention to of the impact on rural New Zealand over the last 5, 6, 7 years. What we've seen in areas such as Taranaki is vast swaths of that landscape covered in seismic survey. These are packages of explosives, can be about 2 kilograms worth of explosives buried underground to try and ascertain some information about what's the resources underneath. Now, what we have seen is around 1,300, I believe, packages or seismic survey blocks through Taranaki which weren't given any sort of landowner authorisation. Now, this is a big concern because I would put it to the House, this is more than a minimal activity. You're literally digging up fields, burying explosives. What we know from overseas data is that a significant portion of those packages don't actually explode. So what you have across Taranaki is unexploded packages literally littering the landscape. Now, is a concern is as clarified that these activities can occur on adjacent land. So it was really great to see clarification from the officials, which has been clarified in the legislation and the report, that seismic surveys not constitute a minimum impact activity. I think this is good news. But I would urge the oil and gas industry, I would urge federated farmers on behalf of their constituents to actually pay more attention to this issue. What we do want to see, I think, is a code of conduct to make sure that farmers aren't getting a an unfair deal, that aren't being hoodwinked, that aren't being pressured. And I've been in rural communities where literally farmers have been broken down in tears because of the impact of oil and gas companies who, they quote, have pulled the community apart, have literally lied to people's faces. I think a code of conduct would really strengthen that relationship, because what the industry needs is a social licence to operate. Now, the second key area where I was trying to seek clarification on the committee was the Schedule 4 issue, because Kiwis rightfully fought back against previous plans to open up Schedule 4 mining activities. That was clarified in law. I remember I was at the head of the march. I think there's about 50,000 Aucklanders marching down Queen Street. So it was quite a legitimate concern for submitters such as ECO, who said, well, this legislation allows access to Schedule 4 land in in Clause 14. So what the committee has made crystal clear, because that was a legitimate concern as the way you could read the legislation, that with a new Section 54A, which clarifies that Schedule 4 land is only common marine and coastal areas. This is not Schedule 4 land. This is not the most pristine, treasured, loved places that Kiwis fought so strongly to protect. So I'm glad that this legislation, while being a tune-up, was even tuned up even more to make sure it was providing assurance to people who had some concerns that it was going further than the minor amendments it was ostensibly trying to produce. The key issue the Green Party had with the legislation is, while it was making some minor tinkering, it wasn't getting to the actual engine of the Crown Minerals Act, which is the purpose clause. Now, the purpose of the Crown Minerals Act, as amended by the previous government, was to add the promotion of oil and gas and other extractive activities. Now, I do not think that is the role of the government. The role of the government is to make sure there is appropriate oversight, appropriate regulation, environment and worker safety is protected. I don't believe it is the job of the government, particularly in a climate change threatened world, when the world's top scientists are saying we have 12 years left to avert catastrophe, that the purpose of our main regulatory body dealing with extractive activities says in its purpose it's to promote it. Now, I believe this must change. Much like the 88 million estimated fossil fuel subsidies that have been given to the country by independent academics. These are some of the actions that we can take following on from this tune-up. So I'd like to thank the committee, particularly the Chair, Jonathan Young, all the members, all the submitters. Can I please clarify once again to those environmental NGOs, this is not about opening up Schedule 4. This is not about opening up the regime to allow more seismic surveying on adjacent lands, basically circumventing or providing a new loophole to circumvent the existing rules. And this is about making sure we don't have cowboys operate. What this government's doing is starting the process for a just transition. It's the only fair thing for these communities and the workers. But the great news is we know as clean energy produces 4 times more jobs than fossil fuels. Taranaki in particular has a bright future as an area of marine energy. Excellent. So while we're not trying to, as permits change, see cowboys into the market, what we are trying to see is a just transition for New Zealand, for Taranaki and those workers. Kia ora.
I call Andrew Falloon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's a pleasure to be taking a call on a Crown